Steady rates, surging trade, and a billionaire battle shakes markets. Hello, happy new month, and welcome to CBX Business News for Tuesday, July 1, 2025. I'm Yanil Wood. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the newscast locally, Bank of Jamaica holds policy rate at 5.75%, says current stance remains appropriate for 4 to 6% inflation target. On the regional front, US-Ghana trade hits a record $4.7 billion as strategic ties between the two countries deepen across multiple sectors. And over on the global stage, Tesla shares tumble after US President Donald Trump takes aim at Elon Musk's federal subsidies in a scathing online attack. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right after this break.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMAX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMAX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. What you put in is what you get out. What you put in is what you get out. Yeah. Build up your body, boost up your brain. Take on the world now. Say bye-bye pain. Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. Be good to you. Caribbean Dreams, instant turmeric tea. Distributed by Amalgamated Distributors Limited.
It's your Vibes Queen, Lady Renee, and you are watching the one and only CBX. Your region, your business, your source.
If it were not for the Jamaica Stock Exchange listing, Phosphate Company Limited would not be where it's at today.
FESCO started from 5 shareholders who believed that they could execute a fuel company as good as or as better than any multinational.
Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances. I have seen that our company has expanded tremendously after being listed.
Our experience so far has translated into additional customers.
Being listed on the stock exchange allows us a certain prestige. It also speaks to accountability and transparency.
Our transparency has allowed us to access credit easier and at better rates.
We have expanded in terms of our customer base, in terms of our suppliers.
All the fears I had about banks, about losing control, you are having them. And I tell you, they were dissipated when I spoke to the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
So if you're a private company thinking about growing your profits, having better access to capital, I really think you should consider listing on the junior or the main market.
You may have fears in listing on the main market or the junior market of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Whatever those fears are, we can help you to allay them. Give us a call today. Our friendly professional staff will help you through the process. Let us have that conversation. Give us that call.
Go ahead, have that conversation as soon as possible. We did it and we're very happy.
Make that call now.
You will be glad you did.
let's all get fit. This summer set drip. Hip dips and split. Power in the mind, let's get healthy with it. Sometimes the body's so hard, but the body wants it. And then your head is so hard, and it's so like this. So we gotta go 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. One more now. 1, 2, 3. One more now. 1, 2, 3, go.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with news coming from Jamaica's Central Bank. The Bank of Jamaica's Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, has unanimously voted to hold the policy interest rate at 5.75% per annum, reaffirming its commitment to ongoing actions that support stability in the foreign exchange market. Following its June 25 and 26 meetings, the BOJ's MPC says the current policy stance remains appropriate to keep inflation within the 4 to 6% target over the next 2 years. The MPC also cited heightened uncertainty in global trade policy, interest rate paths in major economies, and rising geopolitical tensions that have increased upside risks to inflation. The committee also acknowledged that inflation risks are tilted to the upside, meaning outturns could exceed projections. However, the bank still expects inflation to stay within its targeted range over the next 8 quarters. Meanwhile, the private sector inflation expectations have stabilized, a positive signal for headline inflation. Other key international drivers such as grain, LNG, and oil prices have generally declined. However, the bank warns that sustained or escalating geopolitical tensions could reverse this trend, pushing commodity prices higher. While the direct impact of recent changes in global trade policy on domestic inflation is expected to be moderate, the second-round effects of these policies could be greater than anticipated. And the Bank of Jamaica offered US $30 million to authorized dealers and select cambios through a beef fix-it flash auction to support market liquidity earlier today. 41 total eligible bids were received. However, only 31 were allocated at a settlement rate of $159. Successful institutions include National Commercial Bank, which received the largest allocation of US $6 million, followed by Citibank Jamaica, US $3.5 million, JMB Bank, US $2.5 million, VMBS receiving $1.65 million US, and JN Bank, which received US $1.5 million. Among the successful cambios were Grace Kennedy Currency Trading Services, receiving US $5 million, Mayberry Investments, receiving US $2.5 million, and JMB Securities and Barita Investments Limited, which received US $2.3 and US $2 million, respectively. This is the 20th time since the start of the year that the bank has intervened in the foreign exchange market. In other news, the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce is calling for the Office of the Services Commission, OSC, to be more transparent following its refusal to answer questions for Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division, a post recently filled by Dennis Chung. Members of the JCC, the private sector organization of Jamaica PSOJ, and the opposition, along with members of the wider public, have expressed concerns about this appointment. The Chamber says while they do not question Mr. Chung's qualifications or his right to serve, their concern lies with the lack of transparency when asked about the process by which the appointment was made. They are also concerned with the potential implications this may have for public trust in the country's institutions. A critical pillar of national development is public confidence in the integrity of state institutions. Equally important is the duty of civil society to remain vigilant and ensure that these institutions continue to earn and maintain that trust, the JCC notes. It says if confidence in the democratic system is to be preserved, openness and accountability are essential, particularly in matters of national significance. Now, the Chamber is therefore urging the OSC to provide clarification regarding the changes made to the job requirements and the process followed. In doing so, the OSC can help preserve the integrity of public service and reinforce public faith in the systems that govern us. Now to foreign currency trading news. And the intervention in the forex market today yielded positive results as the US dollar went down by 26 cents and is selling for $160.10, the Canadian for $122.31, and the pound sterling for $216.82. The going rate for the euro is $187.10. And from foreign currency trading news, we go to trading news on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. 105 stocks traded on the JSE Tuesday, of which 38 advanced, 48 declined, and 19 traded firm. Leading the winners were Alaska Financial Services, First Rock Real Estate Investments US dollar, Epley Caribbean Property Fund SCC, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers CAB, while the losers were led by Cygnus Real Estate Finance US dollar, Supreme Ventures, Cygnus Credit Investments Jamaican dollar ordinary shares, and Dollar Financial Services. The main index declined by 3,350.89 points or 1.06% to close at 313,962.09. The junior market index also declined, but by 16.22 or 0.47% to close at 3,459.99. And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard. In today's Market Education Feature, we're exploring the term cross-licensing agreement. A cross-licensing agreement is when two or more parties mutually grant each other rights to use their respective intellectual property, most commonly patents, but it can also include copyrights or trademarks. For instance, two publishing companies may agree to share the rights to a copyrighted literary work. Unlike unilateral licensing, which is a one-way transaction, cross-licensing is reciprocal, typically with no direct financial exchange. These agreements are especially popular among technology companies as they allow access to complementary innovations, reduce the risk of infringement disputes, and help foster collaboration and product development. The Market Education Feature was brought to you by CariCris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for Market Education Feature and the end of the local segment. Please stay with us. The regional business news is up next. The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances. It started out as a small family-owned business, and now we're a part of a large group of companies. Being listed on the stock exchange allows us a certain prestige. It also speaks to accountability and transparency. We had some fears about getting our information in the public domain, but once we contacted the Jamaica Stock Exchange, who have the knowledge and the experience to guide us, we were comfortable with getting into the process. If you have any doubts about being listed, just give the Jamaica Stock Exchange a call. They'll be very happy to take you through the process and also provide you with information that you may need. Make that call now.
Mikey, is what sweet you saw?
Yeah, dear babes. Where's the Cathy? Me and you go party tonight.
Party? You secure your future yet? Careless.
Did you know that over time the stock market has provided a reliably high return on investments? Be sure to contact a licensed stockbroker for more information on this exciting investment opportunity.
Taking care of business, Mikey?
Yeah, Cathy. I'm securing my future. Want to come look over my stock portfolio?
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, providing a fair, efficient, and transparent stock market.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMAX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMAX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
Welcome back, and now for the regional business news. Trade between the United States and Guyana has surged to an all-time high, with the latest figures showing transactions in goods alone climbing past US $4.7 billion over the past year, a record-breaking development that underscores the deepening economic ties between the two nations. According to U.S. Ambassador to Guyana, Nicole Terriot, over the past 12 months, American firms have widened their presence across key industries, including manufacturing, education, telecommunications, and hospitality. She was speaking during the 249th U.S. Independence Day celebration on Friday.
For the past year, we've reached another milestone. Bilateral trade in physical goods alone surpassed $4.7 billion US dollars. A new record. The number of U.S. companies working with Guyanese partners continues to grow, along with sustained investment across many sectors. Since last year's event, we've celebrated many new ventures, from company launches and grand openings to groundbreaking partnerships. We've welcomed a new U.S.-branded hotel, joined in launching a new primary and secondary school partnership, brought a U.S. company to Guyana offering the country's first ever industrial 3D printing, and marked the entry of a company specializing in welding and machining services. We even celebrated a partnership that brings a beloved U.S. donut franchise to Guyana.
U.S. Ambassador to Guyana, Nicole Terriot. Now, President of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, says these investments are more than commercial. They're shaping Guyana's economic and strategic landscape.
Guyana and the U.S. share a long-standing trade partnership in agriculture, and we look forward to continuing to work with your authorities to advance market accessibility. As our countries actively engage in strengthening our framework for bilateral trade, we continue to be optimistic about the diversification of our trade relations.
And as Guyana steps up efforts to protect its borders and financial systems, President Dr. Ali is sounding the alarm over a growing threat tied to illicit gold trading.
We are putting enormous resources into ensuring that the threat of illicit gold smuggling that can help to empower or safeguard undemocratic forces are uprooted.
President of Ghana, Dr. Irfan Ali. In a landmark move to accelerate global progress toward the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, UN member states approved the Compromiso de Sevilla commitment on June 17. The new financing framework aims to bridge the staggering $4 trillion annual investment gap threatening development efforts, an issue that resonates deeply across the Caribbean region. Despite a decline in global extreme poverty rates, nearly 700 million people still live under harsh conditions, and the SDGs remain off course, with only 17% likely to be met by 2030. For Caribbean economies, many of which grapple with vulnerabilities like limited access to affordable financing, climate risks, and trade integration challenges, the Sevilla commitment offers a blueprint to unlock crucial funding. Key pillars of the agreement include reducing borrowing costs by promoting lending in local currencies and innovative debt solutions through multilateral development banks, MDBs, expanding long-term, low-cost financing options, and reforming sovereign debt mechanisms to ensure sustainability. Importantly, the framework also prioritizes boosting regional infrastructure, digital connectivity, and trade facilitation, critical levers for Caribbean nations seeking to diversify economies and add local value. In other news, the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago has kept its repo rate steady at 3.5%, citing ongoing global economic risks. Rising tensions in the Middle East caused crude oil prices to spike to US $76 per barrel before falling below US $70 after a ceasefire, creating uncertainty for growth and inflation worldwide. The IMF projects global growth to slow to 2.8% in 2025, with inflation easing to 4.3%. Major central banks like the US Federal Reserve have paused rate hikes, maintaining stable interest rates to balance inflation and growth concerns. Domestically, natural gas production dropped by 5.9% in Q1 2025, while crude oil output rose by 6.1%. The petrochemical sector showed mixed results, with ammonia and urea production up but methanol output down. Now, non-energy sectors showed slower growth, though manufacturing, distribution, and finance remained positive. Inflation remains low at 1.4% year-on-year in May, driven mainly by higher food and building material prices. Private sector credit expanded strongly by 9.1%, with growth in business and consumer lending, especially in real estate. The Monetary Policy Committee emphasized caution on credit quality and liquidity management, deciding to maintain the repo rate at 3.5% as it monitors economic developments closely. Now to trading news from the TTSE. 22 securities traded on the TTSE Tuesday, of which 6 advanced, 6 declined, and 10 traded firm. Leading the winners were Trinidad Cement, Agostina Limited, National Flour Mills, and Guardian Media, while leading the losers were Trinidad and Tobago NGL, JMB Group, National Enterprises, and Scotiabank TNT. Other results include the All TNT Index advancing by 1.93 to close at 1,507.62. The Composite Index advancing by 0.79 to close at 1,028.64. And the Cross-Listed Index declined by 0.06 to close at 72.25. And still at 91.81 is the SME Index. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment with Nielsen Rose is up next.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. In the international news today, China's State Administration of Foreign Exchange, SAFE, has raised the foreign exchange quota for qualified domestic institutional investors, QDII, to US $170.9 billion, up from $167.8, marking the first increase since May 2024. The move signals a cautious step towards loosening capital outflow restrictions as pressure on the yuan eases. The adjustment comes amid a weakening US dollar and declining demand for overseas assets such as US equities, which have helped stabilize China's currency. Under the QDII program, approved Chinese institutions are allowed to invest in foreign securities, bonds, and commodities within set limits. Investors' appetites for offshore assets had surged over the past 2 years due to a sluggish domestic stock market, leading to pricing distortions in overseas ETFs as demand outpaced available quotas. The latest quota expansion includes US $2.1 billion allocated to security firms and fund managers, US $660 million to banks, and US $300 million to insurance companies. The increase reflects Beijing's effort to balance capital market liberalization and financial stability while offering institutional investors more flexibility in global asset allocation. Consumer price inflation in the Eurozone ticked up to 2% year-on-year in June, rising slightly from May's 8-month low of 1.9%, according to a preliminary estimate. The figure matches the European Central Bank's official inflation target and was in line with the market expectations. Among the bloc's largest economies, inflation trends were mixed. Germany saw an unexpected decline, while France and Spain recorded modest increases. Italy's inflation rate remained unchanged. Breaking down the components, services inflation accelerated to 3.3%, up from May's 3-year low of 3.2%. The decline in energy prices also moderated, easing by 2.7%. compared to a 3.6% drop in May. However, inflation slowed for non-energy industrial goods at 0.5% versus 0.6%, and for food, alcohol, and tobacco 3.1% compared to 3.2%. Core inflation, which strips out volatile food and energy prices, held steady at 2.3%, its lowest level since January 2022, suggesting underlying price pressures are continuing to ease. Tesla shares fell sharply in pre-market trading on Tuesday after US President Donald Trump launched a scathing attack on Elon Musk, calling for a federal review of subsidies received by the billionaire's companies. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, Trump wrote. Without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. Perhaps we should have Dodge take a good, hard look at this. Big money to be saved. The reference to Dodge points to the Department of Government Efficiency, a Trump-era initiative that Musk briefly led before stepping down in May. The president's comments come amid growing Republican criticism of federal spending on green energy and electric vehicles, including provisions in Trump's proposed One Big Beautiful Bill that would eliminate the $7,500 EV tax credit. Tesla's stock dropped more than 5% in early trading, compounding a year-to-date decline of over 20%. The renewed feud raises questions about the future of federal support for Musk's ventures, including Tesla, SpaceX, and Starlink, all of which have benefited from the government contracts or incentives. And in other news, President Trump is fast-tracking a series of targeted mini-trade deals ahead of the July 9 trade deadline, aiming to secure quick economic wins amid stalled broader negotiations. These deals focus on specific sectors like agriculture, pharmaceutical, and digital services. The strategy comes amid stalled broader negotiations with Canada and the European Union and growing uncertainty over global trade dynamics. Meanwhile, the U.S. Senate overwhelmingly rejected a proposal to block states from regulating artificial intelligence for the next decade. The bipartisan move removes a key provision from Trump's major tax and spending bill, signaling growing support for stronger oversight of AI technologies at the state level. The Senate voted 99-1 to strike the AI regulation ban from the bill. The ban would have blocked states and local governments from enacting their own AI laws for a decade. The amendment to remove the ban was introduced by Senator Marsha Blackburn, who had initially worked on a compromise with Senator Ted Cruz to shorten the moratorium to 5 years. And those were your international business stories. After the break, join Neil for your recap.
Welcome back. Now for a recap of our top stories. BOJ holds policy rate at 5.75%. Regionally, U.S.-Ghana trade hits record $4.7 billion. And on the international scene, Tesla shares tumble after President Trump targets Musk's federal subsidies in online trade. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Nielsen Rose and the entire production team, I'm Yanil Wood. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.